I don't usually read it, but I was just bored one day and I was flipping through it and I see your face on there, but like in the Himalayas or something. I was like, holy shit! I didn't know you did that. So, so tell me about the story.
Yeah, I mean, not many people knew I did it. I really kind of kept it low key to make sure that I actually finished.
Yeah.
But it really, I mean, it's a very evolved, very long story that started when I was about 10. I read that book, Into Thin Air by Jon Krakauer. I don't know if you've read it.
Oh.
It's worth a read if you really like the outdoors and hiking and mountaineering kind of stuff. Even if you don't necessarily do it, it's an excellent story. Terribly, tragically sad. It's about a team of Everest mountaineers that had a disaster. It was like a disastrous summit climb, and a bunch of very, very well-known trekking company owners and their clients ended up perishing in May of '96. I've probably read the book, I don't know, 10 different times, and they've made like movies about it and stuff. And Jon Krakauer, the author, was one of the few survivors from one of the teams. So I read it, and I mean, I just remember becoming like just drawn to Everest, like all things Everest. So I pretty much have seen, I don't know, every movie, even if it's been made over again over the years, every documentary, every book. I love the mountains, and obviously it's the tallest one in the world, so I mean, people are just, I think, naturally drawn to it, as I was. I love the outdoors. I love hiking. I don't get to do any of that nearly as much as I would like due to work and kids' time constraints and stuff. But I do it as much as I can when I can. And I've always wanted to go just see it. And then as I got older, I was like, you know what? I'd really just love to do Everest Base Camp as my, like in my head, that was always my true bucket list trip. Right, everyone seems to have at least one. That's always been like in the forefront of my mind. And every year I just get busier with one thing or another. I mean, when I was in college, I was busy with college. I was busy with medical school after that, and then I was busy with my first job, and then the kids, and there seems like there's always an excuse to not do it. And I think as I've gotten older, I've just had that realization, like, when I'm actually able to do it, because all of the people and pieces of my life are more settled, I don't know that I'll even physically be able to do it anymore. So I just don't want that time to pass by. So it's kind of in a very roundabout, convoluted way. It was probably maybe closer to 10 years now. I had been recently divorced, and I got my Runner's World magazine like I did every month, and I just happened to read pretty much, probably like you did, that little article in the Chronicle. I read this little article about this running camp in Colorado, and I was like in this eat, pray, love moment of my life, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do that for me. And it was like a 4 to 5 day running in Boulder, Colorado with some meditation. I had never meditated in my life, so I was like, I don't really know about that, but I was like, well, I just want to go run in the mountains. I had no idea, like not thinking how difficult it would be. I'm a regular runner here at sea level, not realizing, oh, I'm at Boulder. In Boulder, I mean, this is like, it's a big difference. So anyway, I went out to this like long weekend retreat, and it was amazing. I met all of these like-minded people, and people of all sorts of abilities, like really novice runners, like to ultra marathon, North Face sponsored people, people who'd won Leadville and had done.
What's that?
It's a really, really difficult ultra marathon in Colorado, really famous one.
So do the mountains and stuff, or
in Leadville, Colorado. So I met like all of these like famous people, but also these people who are much more like me, just like an everyday regular runner. And it was amazing. I mean, the meditation, I learned a whole lot of stuff about me that I didn't know. would enjoy and like. And I left there meeting just like what I knew would be lifelong friends. So probably a year later, one of the people that I had met there in Colorado called me and said, I'm putting together a group of friends, and friends from like all walks of my life. Like, and this guy he was about 10 years older than me, so at the time he was probably in his mid-40s. He said, I'm bringing people that I met in college and in high school, people that I work with, people that I trained with, and he said, I want to go to Nepal and I want to trek Annapurna. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. I mean, I did know, but I really didn't know. And he's like, would you like to come along? And I said, well, yeah, but I really want to go to Everest, so can we just go there instead? And he was like, no, the trip is for Annapurna, so do you want to go or not?
So is that a different mountain, or okay?
It is. So Annapurna is the 10th tallest mountain in the world. It is actually, I think it's considered the most deadly to climb, because the way the mountain is situated in the sun, the main climbing route faces the sun for most of the day, so there's a lot of ice melt that happens.
It's slippery.
Yeah, there's a lot of avalanches, so like the death rate is super high, even though it's not. It's like the climbing to death rate is, or the attempt to death rate is much higher than I think most of the other mountains, including Everest, just because the avalanche risk is so high there.
Mm-hmm. How would you compare the Everest to like the Everest, like how dangerous it is to climb?
I think the climb of the actual summiting of Annapurna, I think, is actually more dangerous.
Oh wow.
Although it's not as high of a mountain. It's still above 8,000 meters. So still some significant risks, but the avalanche risk, I think, makes it more deadly than Everest. But in a very very long story as short as I can possibly make it, I guess, I ended up saying yes, and I joined this group of 15 people that I knew only this one man who I'd met in Colorado on that running retreat. I said, yeah, I'm gonna go. And it was about a year in advance, so I had plenty of time to work out my job and where the kids would be.
Did you take like a sabbatical or?
I did not. The timing of the trip was a month before I was due to start here.
So like in the summertime, or?
It was in November.
Okay.
I weirdly started because of my contract. So I was in private practice before I came to Peddie. And my private practice contract, I gave them the notice I needed to give, left.
So how recent was this hike?
So this was 2017.
Oh, I thought you just recently went.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
so this was a while ago. This is my build up into how I got to Everest.
Okay, got it.
Sorry, it's all over the place.
No, I'll listen.
So, I ended up having like a month between jobs, which is why I was able to go to Annapurna. But I ended up going with all of these, again, very like-minded people that were amazing. We spent 2 weeks, I think it was about 2 weeks, trekking to Annapurna Base Camp. And Base Camp was like just over 13,000 feet. I don't think I realized at the time, back in 2017, how hard it was going to be to do it. I just kind of assumed I would run to train and that would be enough. And it was really difficult. I mean, the altitude was really, really tough at the end. It didn't feel well.
Was there like rock climbing parts of it too, or?
There was no mountaineering at all. It was just, they call it trekking. It's basically like glorified hiking, I suppose. Somebody who listened to me say that would probably.
So is there like a set path, or you're kind of?
There are pretty much paths that, and you can do it on your own, but it's much easier to join like a trekking company and have a guide take you, because what you end up doing is you'll trek for, I don't know, anywhere from like 6 to 12 hours in any one given day, and you stop and you take breaks at what they call tea houses. They're like these little kind of miniature hotels, if you will, and not hotel-esque in any way. I mean,
Yeah.
there's, some of them have no running water, all the toilets are outside, if they're toilets at all. It's very rustic.
Wow.
But you kind of stop along the way, and part of, one of the biggest parts of their economy in Nepal is tourism. And so, I mean, that's what these people do is they just host people to stay or people to stop along the way to have tea or to, have simple Nepalese snacks
So
as
there's people there at the hotel that are hosting it?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's all like pretty much family run, so you get to meet, different families along the way, and
That's interesting.
it was such a cool experience. I loved every minute of it, and the people in my group were just amazing, and they were all friends of this one guy who arranged the trip. So this was 2017. It was life-changing for me. I mean, I fell in love with Nepal, and I mean, I've been obsessed with the country since. Like, and obviously I really had such an interest in Everest, but everything about Nepal is just incredible. The people are so nice, and the food is wonderful, and it's so vastly different. I mean, you could be in Kathmandu, which is this bustling city of like sights and sounds and smells, and just so different from anything that I had ever seen, to like this, these gorgeous countrysides, to like bamboo jungles, and I mean, it's so different and amazing. And so me going there in 2017, I was like, I'm definitely going back. Like in my head, I'd already known I wanted to do Everest, but from 2017 until last summer, so the summer of 24, I just kept putting it off, and I just kept saying, I'll do it at some point, I'll do it at some point. And the man, his name was Rob, who I met in Colorado, who then invited me to go to do Annapurna with all of his friends, died this past year in his 50s, very unexpectedly, of cancer, and it was horrific. He was somebody that I really hadn't known for a very long period of time, but was one of those super impactful people. I mean, every person he met, everyone just adored him, and he was kind and very much into fitness and nature, and just an incredible guy. So I went to his funeral in the winter last year, and everyone sort of had this motto at the funeral. It was live life like Rob, and because Rob just lived every single day like it was going to be his last. And I left his funeral, and I spent like 3 months just thinking, like, I that could be me, that could be anyone in my life. Like, I'm not going to put off Everest anymore. And so last summer I just decided, I said, I need to book this trip so that I can start training and do it, because you just never know. And so that's what I did. I really, truthfully, I sat down with PQ during the summer, I think, and I just said, I need to do this. I had another friend who subsequently was diagnosed with cancer who had wanted to go on the trip with me. And it was even more of a reason why I was like, I need to do this now, because I don't know what's going to happen with her. And Peter just gave me full support. I said, look, I'm going to need a little bit of time off of work. I'm going to try to do it during a time, when the students aren't on campus. And he was fully supportive. He's like, no, you got to do it. So that was really the only hurdle, that I needed just somebody at work to say, it's okay for you to be gone a little bit. And then I just started training in the summer. So I trained for like 9 months.
Wow. What does training look like?
It was wild. It was really hard to fit in the training that I thought I needed to do, compared to where I was when I went to Annapurna. In my head, I was like, there's no way I can be as unprepared if I go to Everest. Number one, it's the base camp of Everest. Yeah.
Did you feel you were underprepared for Annapurna?
I feel like I was. I did a lot of running at sea level, and that was pretty much it. I don't think I realized how significant the impact of altitude would be. And
Is it because of the pressure and stuff, or?
It makes it very, very, very difficult to breathe.
Wow.
The higher up you go, I mean, there's a lot of symptoms you can get. Gives you terrible headaches. Some people are very dizzy, very nauseous. But ultimately, it's just hard to breathe because there isn't enough oxygen. And it almost feels like someone's kind of sitting on your chest. And what you could do very easily here is so hard to do. It's, you could take, I would take 5 steps here and have no problem, but take 5 steps and it would take me twice as long.
Wow.
And have to rest in between. It's pretty, if you've never experienced it, it's something like, it's wild. And so I maxed out that trip at just over 13,000 feet, and I didn't feel great the last couple of days. So in my training plans, I mean, it's really hard, truthfully, it's really hard to find a training plan for like going to Everest Base Camp. I mean, there's stuff all over the internet and there's videos and lots of things you can watch, and but it's everyone's sort of experience and thoughts on how to do it and what you should do. And so I scoured everything and I sort of just like put this amalgam of a workout together, and it was, I woke up every morning before the kids got up and I just did weight training, like progressive weight training, 5 to 6 days a week.
Wow.
And then in the afternoons, as soon as I left my office, I would try to do cardio, like anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week.
So what did the weight training look like specifically?
It was like one day, chest and triceps, the next day were shoulders, the next day were back and biceps.
So are you mainly trying to build strength here, or?
Yeah, it was a lot of, I was trying to build strength, but also muscle.
Okay.
Muscle mass as well. At the same time, I was just trying to really focus in on my diet, because as I'm just doing simple workouts here in New Jersey at sea level, I was tremendously overweight. I mean, so I really focused on diet. What I was putting into my body was just as important, and so I knew I needed to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked hard at that over the summer, and then into the school year. And when September rolled around, when everybody came back to school this past year, I really made myself the priority. It kind of sounds selfish, but I was like,
it's important.
It's important. I mean, I was like, I'm not going to go back to Nepal and feel the way that I felt. I want to enjoy every minute of this trip. So I ended up even buying a Stairmaster that was off lease from a gym, forklift transporting it into my garage. And that was
Did
the most. Barely. We dented some of the garage door getting it in, because it's a big one.
Yeah.
But that and the treadmill were the bulk of my cardio, and I'm so grateful for doing that. The Stairmaster is such an old school, piece of equipment, but I mean, you put on one of those oxygen masks, which I bought, and a weighted vest, and it's amazing.
So does the oxygen mask lower the amount of oxygen that you can breathe in?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's amazing. Have you ever used one?
No, I haven't.
I think there's data that waxes and wanes over how effective it really is for training, but the one thing that seems to be pretty consistent is for altitude training. It's like a necessity. Yeah. And I didn't do that.
'Cause I guess no other way to train what the conditions would be like up top, right?
Right, and it wasn't. I mean, it would be great if I could have gone out to Colorado or out to somewhere with elevation.
I'm not gonna get anything over here.
I mean, not in New Jersey. And it was hard too, because my trip was planned for March. So to try to do anything with altitude would have put me in the middle of winter, in the middle of very cold, snowy, places. So it didn't seem really feasible for me. So I just tried to simulate a lot of that here. And as put together as my workout plan just seemed so random, it was exactly what I needed.
So you felt like prepared when you went and didn't feel too crazy on the.
It was It was amazing. I mean, I was, kudos to all the 5 other women that I traveled with. I feel like I was probably one of the most prepared.
Nice.
As I felt good. I felt good the whole time.
Did you put them on your workout plan too, or?
I did not. No, I didn't really know them, the people I went with.
Did you find them like online, or how does that work?
Yeah, that too is a little random story. I'm because I keep doing these trips. I keep meeting very like-minded people. So I reached out to a whole bunch of people that I knew, and everyone was like, "Yeah, no, Aimee, you're crazy. Like, no, we're not gonna go." And then I was like, you know, it doesn't matter. Then I sort of went into this rut of, it doesn't matter, I'm gonna go by myself. And all of my family was like, are you crazy? Don't go by yourself.
Do people do that? Is that common?
They do. And I think in retrospect, I think I enjoyed every single person that I was on the trip with. But had I not been able to find anyone, I still would have gone by myself and probably had just as good of a time.
Think you'll be safe?
Yes.
I'm sure you're going past those like mini towns, as you said. Is it similar to Annapurna with like these tea houses and stuff?
Very, very, very similar.
Okay.
Very similar. I wouldn't have gone without a guide. So I would have hired, I would have gone through like a company that would have set me up with a guide. But there are people that go without a guide at all. I think I don't know that I am brave enough for that, but maybe next
Did you get lost or something, or?
It's kind of hard to get lost, I think. I mean, there's not one main path that you can choose, but particularly for Everest, the route that we took, there's no way I could have done it by myself, because we went one way to see sort of some of the mountains from one perspective, and then kind of looped around another way. I would have never been able to do that on my own. I'm not that savvy at all. But I would have gone by myself. But I ended up, just because my family was really urging me, like, please don't go by yourself. My kids, my partner, even my parents were like, you know, I'm a grown woman, and they're like, please don't go by yourself. But I reached out to, I'm on some of these Facebook groups that are like really niche, like female physician travelers group. And some of them, you know, are trekking groups and hiking groups. I reached out to like all these groups saying, hey, I'm doing Everest Base Camp in March, would love to have like-minded people go along. And I had a couple of people just randomly reach out, and we did some Zoom calls to see if, you know, we might be compatible, and really they were asking, you know, what is it exactly that you're going to be doing? And I ended up meeting 2 people who then knew some other people, and so we ended up going as a group of 6 women.
It's pretty good. It's impressive.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. I don't really understand how the whole process works, so I'm sure you can hike to the top, right? There's a limit. So this base camp, like, how high is it up the mountain? Like, are there different like levels that people do, or how does that whole process work?
It's a great question. It's basically it's like 2 very different trips. I mean, now that I've come back, people have asked me, well, why didn't you summit, or are you gonna go summit? It's 2 dramatically different trips. Summiting the mountain and just going to base camp.
Is some at the top, or okay?
Yeah, and the difference is really the permits. The biggest difference really is the permits, but additionally is the training and the time. So you can go, you as a regular person who, assuming that you've trained properly and enough, can go to base camp fairly easily.
So it was like 11 days or so, right?
Yeah, I was there for about 11 days. You can make it a little bit longer. We shortened up our trip. Only because all of us had to come back to work. And then when you tack on, 11 days of just trekking, and then you tack on the few days it takes you to actually get there, and then the few days it actually takes you to get home, it's a good amount of time away from family and your job. So there's different varying lengths that you can choose to do, and a lot of it has to do with just the second half of the trek. When
it gets steeper and higher up, I'm sure, right?
It's kind of, so the trek itself at Everest Base Camp is an out and back. It's roughly 80 miles round trip.
Okay.
But what you can do, so you can do the whole thing, you can go out and go back with any of the companies. But a lot of the companies also offer like a shorter time to trek, or you can go out to base camp and then choose to like helicopter back. And that's what we ended up doing. Initially, I wanted to do the whole out and back because that's what I did when I went to Annapurna. Very similar, like out and back trek. But a couple of the women in my group had some pretty significant work time constraints, and they found this one itinerary that included a heli trip back, and I was like, no, I don't really want to do that. And they were like, well, we can't go if we don't do it. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, you know what? It'll be like part of the experience, right? I mean, I've been on a helicopter only one time prior, and this was like, I don't know, just a chance to see the Himalayas by helicopter. So that's what we did. We trekked out to base camp and then returned by helicopter. But a lot of how far you can go depends on the type of permit that you have. It's very very regulated there, and so we had to buy trekking permits, and that's done through like the group that we hired to take us. All the guides like arrange all of that for you pretty much. So you can go to base camp, which is like 17,500 feet. And then there's another lookout that's a little bit less well known. Like Everest Base Camp, when you think of it, people think of that iconic rock that has the graffiti all over it and the sign, and it's awesome. I mean, it's so surreal to just be there.
Did you sign into the rock, or how does that work?
No, you don't. You're not supposed to.
Okay.
You're not supposed to do that. No, but so there's that, and that's kind of like the more touristy. You know, it's the more well-known place. But there's a part of the trekking permit that allows you to go even higher. You can go over 18,000 feet to a lookout. It's called Kalapatar.
Mm-hmm.
Most people trek that to see sunrise or to see sunset after they do Everest Base Camp. And our group...
How much further is that from the base camp?
It's about another distance. I don't know.
That's all right, yeah.
In terms of mileage, I don't know. But the elevation gain is really the big thing. It's like 1,000 feet higher,
wow.
Almost 1,000 feet higher, which when you're already that high is really, really, really tough. And most of the people in my group, by the time we got to base camp, were struggling. And so the trip to Kalapatar was supposed to be the next morning.
So you were planning to do that?
I was like set. I'm doing this, and the guide knew that I was really gung-ho and I really wanted to go all the way to Kalapatar. And he had said to me sort of privately, he said, Aimee, if there's no one else in the group that wants to do it, I can't just take you. It's like a 4-hour trek up and a 4-hour trek back. He's like, we can't leave the rest of the group just sitting around waiting for us. And so we had like this big group powwow. Who wants to go? Who doesn't want to go? And there were 2 other women who wanted to go.
Okay.
And so we all got up at like 2 a.m. Our headlamps on. I mean, it was -9 degrees that morning. I mean, wildly cold. And
so, like, how many layers would you wear? Would you wear like a full jacket and everything? I'm sure it's really uncomfortable.
I mean, everything is actually really comfortable.
Okay.
But I mean, I think that day I had 3 layers of like thick wool hiking socks. I had 2 wool base layers. I had bought North Face quilted down pants. I mean, they look ridiculous, but keep you super warm. And then like an 800 fill down jacket, a buff, really warm hat,
God.
and 3 layers of gloves, like liners.
Did your shoulders start hurting?
Yeah, I mean, it was wild. I mean, it was so cold. But we ended up starting the morning and going about halfway, and one of the women got really sick, And so she turned back with one of the, we had taken 2 guides with us that morning, and she went back with one of the guides, and one of the other women and I and our guide attempted to go further, and the other partner, she was like, Aimee, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like,
God.
it killed me to not
I can imagine.
go as far as
Because you've already gone so far.
I know. It was kind of heartbreaking, but it was tough for me to emotionally swallow that. I mean, it was fine after a few hours, but it was hard because in my head, that's where I really wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so to get back to your question, it took a big detour. To
What
get back
was
to your
my I
question,
don't remember what I asked.
you asked about how far can you go, right?
Yeah.
That's as far as you can go with a trekking permit. In order to climb and to go all the way to the top of the mountain, you need a mountaineering climbing permit, and that's a very, very different thing. It's my understanding that the people that do the summiting and the climbing of to get to the peak, they basically have to walk all of what we walked. They go to base camp, and then they set up at a little bit further. Like, you could see where we were at base camp. Base camp is like a giant sprawl of basically like a rock glacier. You could see where the expedition tents set up past where we were, and they just set up like campsites, and they're there for a couple of months to train and acclimatize, and they basically spend anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the trekking company or the mountaineering company. They climb, they learn how to ice climb and cross the glaciers and cross ladders safely and rappel, and they'll go up to one camp and then come back down and then sleep at a lower elevation. That's kind of how you acclimatize well, is you hike up high and then you sleep low at night, and your body just slowly gets used to higher and higher elevations if you do it that way, and it's a little bit safer. But that kind of a trip to go all the way to the top requires a lot of mountaineering skill. I have none. I would love to.
Sure, it can be too hard to learn.
Yeah, it's just.
You've done already so much, so.
It's a lot. I mean, it's just such a different life, and you have to be away from your family for all of that time, and honestly, it's so risky.
Mm-hmm.
People die. I mean, people die doing lots of different things all the time, but.
Is there a stat of how many people die per year or something, or per attempt?
I think there are stats out there.
Is it usually by falling, or what's the most dangerous part?
The altitude.
Okay.
Is altitude
Not
sickness.
on your immune system and stuff, or?
So there's two things that can kill people. It's a high altitude pulmonary embolism, so a lung issue, and brain edema. And it makes the brain edema is kind of scary because it makes people not realize where they are, and so it's almost like they're kind of drunk. They don't recognize where they are.
Is it because of the oxygen level?
Yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, imagine being, at the top of Everest. You're free in cold conditions like you've never experienced in your life, and they say one of the most common things that people do when they're experiencing cerebral edema is they start taking their clothes off, and so then they,
Is there a reason why?
I don't know that correlation. I should look that up. But I mean, the stories are wild. I think that they said the last reading I did, it was there's over 300 bodies that are on the summit of Everest that just can't be brought down. It's not safe for the people who are up there to try to bring those bodies.
That makes sense. So when they take all their clothes up, do they die because of the cold?
They die. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just it's a whole lot of it's multifactorial.
I'm sure, yeah.
Right? They're already dying. Their brain is already dying. I mean, it's as soon as you get above 8,000 meters, they call it the death zone for a reason, because your body is just slowly breaking down. It's a lot of end organ damage because of lack of oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that try to summit without the use of oxygen, and those people are at even greater risk.
What do you mean without the use of oxygen? Like, do you bring like a tank?
Yeah, most
Okay.
people who are summiting, most like safer mountaineering companies will provide oxygen tanks for
Wow.
you to.
Must be heavy too.
I know, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool if you read about it. You know, they have all these camps on the way up for people to stay in and acclimatize at. And they stash extra oxygen tanks up at each of those camps in anticipation of the climbers and the clients that are going to be at the next one. And the people that are doing that are all of like the indigenous, like Sherpa people. So it's, you know, people from there risking their lives for people who are not from there. It's wild. I mean, it's such a different type of trip, and I would love to do it, but for me it's like a different lifetime.
So would you ever do anything like this again?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, I would do it as a job if somebody would pay me. I mean, it's my. I love to be outside. I love to trek. I love to be in different cultures and experience their food and their stories and their just everything. I mean, the world is so big and we get to experience such a small piece of it.
That's so true.
You know, it really is. So yeah, I think I definitely would do it. And I would even go back and do this again. One of my sons, one of my twins, he's 13, has the same love for like hiking and outdoors, like just loves it the way that I do. And he was so upset that I wasn't taking him with me. And I said, when you're older, I'll do it with you if you want me to be there. And so he's like, yes, Mom, I want to do it. So maybe I'll go
Amazing.
back when he's older.
So is summiting like a rare thing? Like how many people have in history ever summited?
I don't know the numbers.
That's fine, yeah. But would it be, you think it'd be like a small amount, like 10, 11 people? Would it be like in the hundreds? Or?
No, there are hundreds of people that attempt to do it every year.
Okay.
Climbing, this mountaineering season for Everest, it's a very small window because the conditions have to be so perfect.
Remind me, it's in like August?
No, August in Nepal is monsoon season.
Oh, right.
So climbing season typically gets underway the end of March into April, and then they usually look to summit the very beginning of May.
Has anyone ever done it like out of season, like in the winter or anything? I'm sure that's like almost impossible, right?
I'm sure they have, and I'm sure that many of them have probably died. I mean, I'm not laughing because of that, but that would be crazy.
Yeah.
I read something recently. There was an article about a man who was like trying to snowboard down a side of it, which seems just I almost made up to me. But yeah, I mean it's wild.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I do respect people who can have a dream and find a way to make it possible, because I think that every single one of us have some kind of dream we want to achieve, but it's so hard to actually find time, especially when you have so many responsibilities you're balancing. So it is really an incredible story.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the one thing that I really tried to give my kids from the trip, even though they didn't come with me, is just they've known their whole lives that I'm obsessed with Everest, because I make them watch all the movies and documentaries and everything about it. But the one thing I really wanted to impress upon them is like, it doesn't matter what your dream is. Your dream is going to be different than mine. It's going to be different than somebody else's. But if you have it, then you need to make it happen, because you have one life and it's so short. And you never know when it's not going to be there. And it's so easy to use time as the excuse, right? Like, I don't have the time, or I'll do it when this happens, or I'll do it when this has happened in my life. And you just never know. I mean, I think if it's something you really want to do, you will really find the time. I mean, I didn't love waking up 5 a.m. 5 a.m., 6 a.m. every single morning for months, but I did it because I was like, in order to get there, I need to do this.
Mm-hmm. When you're at the top, about to come down in the helicopter and you're looking at the view that I'm sure is beautiful. What thoughts were going through your head? Like, did it change the way you look at life or death or anything?
It does. I mean, it is, I think, every step of the journey, including the helicopter ride, every step I made time to be present, like, within myself, and it sounds so, like, silly.
It's important.
It sounds silly to say, but I made the time to just recognize, right? Like, what I think what the Himalayas do is it makes you realize how unimportant you really are in the world. Like, you're this tiny little speck of nothing, and the blip of the lifespan of the Himalayas, you're really nothing. You're on this earth for such a short period of time that I think you have to enjoy every single minute. And so for me, it was so silly to say, but it was such an important trip for me that every moment of the trip, whether I was trekking or talking to people that I had never met from the other side of the world, in a tea house at night, or on a helicopter, just realizing, like, wow, I'm so lucky to be here. I'm so lucky to be seeing this. I'm so proud of the fact that I did this. I said, you know, I put my mind to it. I worked really hard to be here, to enjoy it, and I'm here, and I just don't want to ever forget any minute of it. And yeah, so there was a lot of that, and particularly on the helicopter ride on the way back. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm still curious about, like, the whole process of getting to the top of. I'm sure you remember Ryan Bennett. I talked to him before about his journey in the Appalachians, and
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest parts is all the shit you gotta carry. So, how much stuff were you guys carrying? I'm sure with food and everything and tents.
So unlike Ryan's trip, you don't have to carry everything. We stayed in the tea houses, which really are, like I said, they're kind of like lodges. It's a basic room with a mattress. Some of them have bathrooms, some of them don't. So you're bringing what you can bring is actually very limited because of the flight that you take in from Kathmandu. This is going to sound convoluted, just stay with me, I'll circle back. So you don't trek, everybody flies into Kathmandu. Mostly everybody flies
That's
into
the main
Kathmandu.
city in Nepal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then you can't just trek out of the city because it's so far away from the Himalayas in general. So you take a flight, people who are doing the Everest Base Camp trip, take a flight typically from Kathmandu into Lukla Airport. Have you ever heard of Lukla?
No.
So Lukla is the most dangerous airport in the entire world.
Most dangerous.
The most dangerous.
Wow, okay.
And it is because it's one runway. I don't know, I should have prepared better, and I should have figured out the distance of the runway. But it's one runway that on one end of it is a giant, like, cliff wall, and the other end is a drop off.
A giant cliff?
Yeah.
Is it part of a hill or something? Or?
It's part of the Himalayas.
Oh, okay.
So it's this tiny short runway that you kind of fly into, and
God.
right towards this
There was no other way to
wall.
engineer this.
There's no way. And then when you leave, you fly out the other way on the runway, and it's literally the runway just ends and there's a cliff.
God.
So,
You serious?
swear to God, it is the most dangerous.
Wait, so this is the starting point?
This is the starting point
Okay.
of your trek.
Okay.
So you have to fly into this airport.
There's no other way to get there?
You can take a helicopter to the airport, or you fly.
Okay. Is that far from
Kathmandu?
Kathmandu,
Yeah, it was like a 30-minute flight. So
Okay.
it's not terribly far, but you can't walk.
I'm sure the roads and stuff are probably not developed that far near the mountains.
There are people that so because it's the most dangerous airport in the world, the pilots that fly there are very regulated, like they're very well trained, and they're very particular about when flights can land and when they can take off due to the weather, which it changes dramatically there.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't want to risk obviously.
Is it closed in certain seasons, like monsoon season and stuff, I imagine?
And it closes even during regular season very quickly.
Wow.
And so one of the biggest issues with flying there is just reliability of, am I going to start the trek on time, and am I going to get out on time because of this airport? Because it's been known to close for days, just
God.
like the one they'll.
Are there places to stay there? Like.
There are tea houses in that town of Lukla.
Yeah.
So I think that makes the travel really tough for a lot of people, because you have to leave time at the beginning and at the end of your trip in case your flights into or out of Lukla get canceled, because they can be canceled on a moment's notice and for days. I mean,
Do you have to deal with anything like that?
we were so lucky. The weather the day we got out was perfect, and for the 3 days prior to us going out, there were no flights going in or out.
Oh wow.
So we were like super nervous. Oh my gosh, wait, why did I even say that? Why did I even talk about this?
What was I asking? I think it was about how much stuff should we carry.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes, thank you for remembering. The old brain. So because the airport's so dangerous and they're really small planes, you're very weight limited. So every person has like a weight limit. You have pretty much two bags. You carry your pack that you're gonna trek with, and then a duffel bag.
How big is this pack?
I'm
sure it's bigger than like a typical.
Yeah, I mean, some people can fit what they need in something
Really?
small like that, but I think mine is like a 28 liter.
So I guess you're staying in the tea houses. You're not like camping.
Yeah, you don't.
Okay.
So you don't need like a tent. Most people, I mean, everybody brings or rents a sleeping bag, and you just kind of roll your sleeping bag out onto the bed, get into it, and pack it back up the next day. But you're very limited about what you can bring because of the weight, and they do check. Everybody had to weigh their duffel bag and weigh their day pack as we got onto the plane on Lukla, because if you're overweight, I mean, it can cause a plane crash.
Oh wow.
I mean, it's really, they're really serious about it. So you have to be really careful about how much you bring. And the night before we were leaving for that flight, the hotel that we were in Kathmandu has like a luggage scale, and we were all like furiously weighing, reweighing, taking things out of our bags. I mean, there was so much that I brought with me that I thought I could take on the trek that I had to leave in Kathmandu because of weight. I just couldn't bring it. Did bring my Peddie flag.
Nice.
Oh, that's
important.
yeah. So you're pretty limited in what you can bring, and to be honest, you don't really need much. I mean, there's not really opportunity to shower, so you don't really need any of that, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you wear the same. I mean, it's so cold.
Yeah.
It's so cold there. There's no heat in any of the tea houses, so.
That must suck.
It's really cold. Really. I mean, but if you're prepared, if you bring the right clothes, the right kind of clothes, and your sleeping bag and your coat, you're fine. I mean, it's you have to know you have to expect the trip and what's going to happen so that you can be prepared. I mean, there were a couple of women in my group that just, I think they didn't read as much as I did, and were missing some pretty vital things, which we were all sharing anyway. But it's not a trip to just jump on and not have any idea what you're doing.
Yeah. I got many more questions, but I want to use the bathroom real quick. So
yeah,
take
sure.
a quick break.
No problem.
I'm also curious about is there any wildlife up there? Are there you ever encounter any animals? I'm sure it's so cold, so I don't know what wildlife could survive up there, but
There's a lot of yaks that carry like the big heavy equipment and food and it's kind of hard to explain, but all of the tea houses, all of the supplies for the tea houses have to be carried in and out. And so most of them are carried on the backs of yaks. So there's yaks everywhere. There is this animal that's also like it's a combination of, it's like a bred yak and a cow.
Bred?
Or like inbred.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's the right way to say it.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
So they look like yaks, but they look like cows. I think they're called jokios.
Interesting.
And so those animals are used to just carry, I mean, everything you can imagine. I mean, we saw beer kegs on the back of yaks going up to higher elevations.
So are the pathways such that these animals can actually navigate through them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's basically like dung everywhere. So you really have to, it's hard because you're walking amongst these beautiful views, but if you don't look down, you're going to be covered in poo.
God.
But it can be really dangerous. I mean, because the animals don't know, and you're sharing the same sort of pathway as them, and particularly on the downhill, if they're coming down in a herd, they're coming down really fast, so you have to get out of the way really fast.
Okay.
Yeah, and they've got like really dangerous horns, and it's scary. I mean, I think the only time on our track that I was scared was in a situation like that.
There were a lot of them coming down?
There was a huge herd coming down, and I was at the front of our group with one of our guides, and he and I were talking, and they came around a corner really fast, and they were going downhill and we were going uphill.
Oh no.
And he sort of just shoved me up into the mountain, and like he shoved me, and at the same time like kicked the yak away from me. Had he not done that, it would have like, I don't know what you call it, like it would have impaled me or something terrible. I mean, I was like fully sweating when it happened, because he definitely saved me from getting really hurt.
Was he okay too? Or?
I mean, they're used to doing that for their guests, I guess. Right. But it happened so fast that he and I mean, after it happened, we were laughing, but I was like, my God, if not for you, if I had been there by myself, I would have probably still jumped up onto the cliff, but I don't know how effective I would have been at like kicking this, I don't know, 1,000-pound animal away
that's
from
crazy.
me. Yeah,
wow. So do these animals also exist like wildly up there, or mainly just domesticated?
They're mainly used for these purposes.
Yeah.
There are like farms that you can see cows on, obviously they're using the cows. And most of them are used for just moving things. There are people, you'll see lots of the Sherpa people, and they're amazing the way they carry the same kinds of items with a strap on their head and this like huge amount of stuff on their back. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, that's crazy. You kept mentioning that you're obsessed with Everest particularly. Is there a reason why Everest particularly? I know it's the tallest one in the world, but...
Probably just because of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was just me reading that book when I was younger, and it just got me interested. And probably because it was the biggest mountain in the world, but the tragedy that is described in that book, just something about it was so heartbreaking and so fascinating, like all in one. But it's just became that way for me.
What was the tragedy that the climbers went through?
It was in May of 1996. There were several people who made a try for the summit, several very famous people in the mountaineering world. And a storm came in very quickly. I mean, it's sort of a lot of different mini disasters all wrapped up into one. But the big one was that a storm came in very quickly, and a lot of the clients couldn't get down fast enough. Their groups got separated. Some people died of hypothermia. Some people died because they had cerebral edema and were just so disoriented, and they just became lost from their group. Some of the guides themselves, like the big famous, like two of the really, really, really famous mountaineering guides in like different adventure companies, they too got sick and weren't able to help any of their clients, and they ended up dying as well. It was like it was horrific.
Was this like an unexpected storm when no one knew it was coming?
Yeah, and the teams that help get the climbers to the summit are tremendous. I mean, there's these teams of people for every adventure group that goes up that stay at base camp, and there's doctors, there's chefs, there's meteorologists, there's trip coordinators, and so one of the big things they do is watch the weather, and they'll radio up to the camps where the climbers are to give them the window weathers to let them know when the day or that they can actually summit that looks the most promising.
Wow.
Because it's like Russian roulette.
Yeah,
You know.
that's crazy. How nervous were you going into it? Like, I'm sure you knew all these risks, but I mean, you also really want to do this thing. So, like, were you really nervous going in, or what was it like?
No, I was just excited. I was so excited. I think the only thing I was nervous about was feeling badly, like that I hadn't prepared well enough from a fitness perspective. Like I just wanted to feel well, and it was great. I mean, I felt strong and good, and it's not to say it wasn't difficult to breathe and I wasn't freezing, or I didn't have an upset belly from time to time or a headache on one day, but I felt really, really, really good.
Mm.
I think that was the only thing I was worried about. It wasn't really anything. It wasn't like wildlife or bad people or falling rocks, or it was just not feeling well to enjoy it.
Yeah. Do you miss the whole process of like the build up to this big event, the thrill, and the waking up every day?
I do. This is it's a tough question for me right now, because I feel emotionally, I've said this before, I feel emotionally lost because I don't know, I don't have a next thing.
Remind me how long it's been?
I was there
almost a
beginning
year
of
now,
March.
right? Okay. It's been what this year?
This
okay,
March,
okay,
yeah. So just a couple of months, but I'm still working out the way that I was before I went. So my training has been spot on. I just don't want to lose the fitness level that I have right
Mhm.
now. But I don't have a next thing yet, and it's kind of like emotionally tough.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, and I can't always, plan trips and vacations just for me. So we have 5 kids, so I have to include those people in my plans as well, I guess. So
I think it's a really weird time now because it's not just a couple months build up of the training, but also a build up from when you first read that book. Like it's been kind of sitting in the back of your mind for years and years and years. Now it's finally done. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's probably a struggle to kind of find that same energy you felt before, where you're always filled with excitement and everything in your life is kind of designed or kind of pointing toward this one goal. So now it's like, what's next?
that's the scariest part is what is next. This was truly my one life bucket list trip, and now it almost feels like anything else that I think, well, maybe I want to do this, although I know there's many things that I want to do in terms of those kinds of trips. I don't know that it gives me the same excitement. I mean, it's exciting, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
So I need to figure that out, how do I find that feeling again for the next one?
Yeah, I'm sure you'll find it. I mean, you're a very adventurous person. I love hiking too. I mean, have you explored much around Jersey and stuff? I mean, there's not much crazy altitude and stuff, but there's some like nice spots here and there.
There are some nice spots. We try to do, my fiance and I, he also loves hiking and hasn't trekked with me. He kind of lets me, I don't know, he loves that piece of it as much as I do, but we do a lot of like hiking in the Sourlands.
Yeah, I live like right next to there, so.
So it's accessible,
Yeah.
it's close and it's accessible, and it's pretty.
Yeah. You been to like Delaware Water Gap or anything? I feel like the views from Mount Tamani were really nice.
It is beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I took the kids, it was the summer of COVID, so like the summer of 2020. We were up in Acadia.
Oh, we went to Acadia. Yeah.
And that's a great place.
Yeah.
Did you do a lot of hiking there?
We didn't do as much as we do now. I think we were still early. We did a lot of hiking in the White Mountains.
Mhm.
We went with my whole family, so we couldn't do like a big like arduous hike. We did some smaller ones, but like it was still like a great time. It was really beautiful right by the ocean. So I really enjoyed it. We did a lot of biking and stuff because I know there's like the carriage roads and stuff. So
Yeah,
that was fun.
that's a cool place. Yeah.
What were some of the hikes you did? I remember a few names like Beehive and stuff.
Did you do the
We
Beehive?
didn't do it, no.
So
I really want to though.
So 2020, my little ones were, oh God, they were 9. So it was just me and the boys. My fiance and his daughters didn't go with us on that trip. and we did Cadillac Mountain was like one of the first that we did, and then we did the pond.
I remember. Jordan Pond. Yeah.
Yeah, Jordan Pond. Did you get the? Did you do that?
Yeah, that was fun.
And you get the what the pastry things called?
I don't remember.
So we did those, and they were like fairly easy. Easy.
It was pretty flat. Yeah.
Very flat, and then I was like, oh, beehive, this sounds interesting. So I dragged the kids up there. It was like
it was a little hard, right?
It was a really bad parenting decision.
Okay.
Really bad. Oliver was fine, but I mean, there were some parts to that hike where you're right on the edge of a cliff.
That's
and
crazy.
I'm thinking, oh my God, if something happens to one of these kids, I'm completely helpless to do anything.
I remember there's also like
yes.
What do you call it, monkey bar kind of parts or something? Yeah.
Yeah, they're like iron rungs, along part of it, and it's one of those trails there where it's you can't. There's signs all over it where you can't go backwards. It's like a one way. So even if you start going and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, you kind of have to keep going. I don't know that I would do that with my kids ever again, even though they're older. I was probably
really? That's how dangerous it was?
It was really, really dangerous. Like, honestly, one misstep for a kid and they're...
Wow.
Yeah, scary.
Yeah. I remember with the day we did the Cadillac Mountain, we woke up for the sunrise, which was like I think 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it was a cloudy day, it ended up being. And we also realized the morning of we needed a permit for parking, so we ended up driving somewhere else for the sunrise, and there was nothing to see. And but then since we woke up so early, we went like right to Jordan Pond, and we finished it at 8 a.m. and it felt really weird because we'd never like gotten up that early before. So.
And you were done before you would have normally gotten up. Yeah.
But I think for us, like, it was a foggy day when we were going to Jordan Pond, so you couldn't see the other side of the lake. So that part of it was really cool.
It's probably creepy.
Yeah.
Like eerie, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's funny. It's a beautiful place there.
Oh yeah.
What time of the year were you there?
It was summertime, so I think
Summer?
No, July. I think it was July 4th weekend.
Okay.
So it was pretty busy.
So when you did Cadillac Mountain, did you see all the blueberries, like all the wild blueberries?
I don't remember. No, I don't remember.
There was so much like
in the summertime.
Yeah, like wild fruit still there. That
interesting.
My one son, I had to keep. This is why I remember this one hike, because I kept having to like drag him along because he'd stop and try to eat all the berries.
Really?
I'm like, can you stop? We're never gonna get there. But that's a great place to hike.
Yeah.
I'd go back.
What other have you been to other national parks around the country? Or?
I have.
It's kind of hard near the Northeast, so.
It is hard in the Northeast. I did when I was in medical school, so this is forever ago. Between your first and your second year of medical school, you have a chunk of time off. It's like the only time that you're actually off. And at the time, my boyfriend at the time and we had no money, so it was like we had like a $500 budget for 5 weeks worth of a trip, and we decided we would drive. I'd like do a cross-country drive out to California and then drive back.
From here, right?
From our medical school was in Pennsylvania. Okay. So from Pennsylvania, we drove like through the north, and we basically stopped and camped.
To the north? So did you take I-80 or did you?
We took 80 for a lot of it, but I'm not going to tell you how many years ago because it was way longer than you are old. I don't remember the specifics of like, we did a lot of 80, but we pretty much camped and hiked in every national park.
Yeah.
On the way out
it's
and then on the way back.
On the way, yeah.
Yeah, it was so cool. I mean, that's a trip of a lifetime.
How long did that take you? Because that's far.
I think we were gone for like 5 weeks.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and we literally had no plan. It was, we barely had cell phones, I think, even at the time. So everything was off of an old school map.
Really? No Google Maps, nothing?
No, we had none of that.
But there's no cell phones, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we didn't have any of that. So we just bought a big US map and we just started.
That sounds more fun though.
It was so fun. It was so fun, and there was no, I'm such a planner and I'm really type A, but we didn't plan anything.
Yeah, that's fun sometimes.
It was so fun. I mean, we just drove until we didn't feel like driving, and then we'd stop, or maybe the night before we'd say, hey, if we drive, here, we can get to the Tetons, tomorrow or the next day. Let's just go there. it was so cool.
And with camping, like, did you have to figure out permits and stuff, or you it was pretty free for all, you can just go to camp?
At that time, it was, I mean, if we needed permits, we didn't get them. No, I mean, I think a lot of what we did was we would go right into the main office and you pay like a little fee and you'd set up your pop-up tent where they told you
that's better, yeah, because that's more flexible.
Yeah. Or if it was bad weather, we were on such a medical school budget that we just sleep in the car, and when you're in your early 20s, it's fun.
Yeah, I gotta make a trip like that at some point.
You have to make a trip like that, especially because you like to hike.
I love it, yeah.
And if you haven't seen that many national parks and even just state parks out central United States, out west, are just incredible.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I've not gone out west since I was young. I've explored quite a bit on the East Coast, and I think there are some nice spots out here too, but I know compared to the West, it's like almost nothing. So I'd be really excited to go back sometime.
Yeah, you definitely have to do it, especially if you anything like me and you love mountains.
I do, yeah.
You gotta go. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, hopefully I can talk to you and plan a trip some point.
I'm happy to help anytime, for real.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Goodman, for sitting down today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. This has been a fun catch up.
Yeah, no, it's good to come back and talk to people from my past lives. So, and it's great to see all the amazing things you're doing here. And good luck with everything. I hope you can go on another adventure sometime soon.
Thank you. You too.
I'll have you sign somewhere. I think this is 109, if I'm not wrong.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for asking me to do this.
No, of course.
This is really fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'll do my best to get audio fix.
Oh gosh, I hope. All right, so where do you want me to sign?
Anywhere.
Anywhere?
Really your choice. Yeah, 109.